We're going to deal with our first contact with open position voicing, and let's first define that term. Open position would mean a situation where all the notes of the chord are not found in the same octave. We're very accustomed to thinking of chords as being built from the root up, for example, root third, fifth in close position. That's the way we ordinarily visualize chords, but obviously in music, they're not used that way necessarily. And one of the possibilities, of course, is what we refer to as open position. So our first contact with open position will be with what we call the drop two voicing. So let's take a look at that together. What I have done here is sketch out a 2 minor 7, 5, 7, 1 major 7 progression in the key of C, which of course would be the chords D minor 7 to a G dominant 7th to a C major 7. And what I've done here is first write them out, the basic chords, meaning there is no tension used on the chord. So here's your D minor 7. Voice led to the G dominant 7th, and then voice led to the C major 7 with, of course, the roots of the chords in the bass. And when we add tension notes, we add the ninth of the chord to the 2 minor 7, which would be the note E. Instead of the D, we're using the note E. And then on the G dominant 7th, we're using both the ninth and the 13th, and the ninth, of course, is the note A on a G dominant 7th, and the 13th is the note E. And so what we're left with on the G7 then, of course, is the 7th of the chord F and the 3rd of the chord B. And then when we voice lead into the C major 7, we once again want to use the ninth of the chord, which is the note D, and that D then is added to the C major 7 and replaces the root of the chord, which is C. The thinking, of course, is that the root of the chord C will be in the bass anyway. And the number 9 essentially identifies the interval from the bass note to that note of the chord. So the interval from the C in the bass up to the E in the chord is an interval of a ninth. Hence, that's why the note is identified as the ninth. Okay, so as we look at our first contact with open position chords, what we're going to do is drop the second voice of the chord. When it's in close position, we're going to drop that note 1 octave. And we must be careful that we do drop that 1 octave only. It must be 1 octave. So the second voice of our D minor 7, as you see here in both cases, was the note F. So what we do is we take that note F and drop it 1 octave. So instead of being this F, we drop it 1 octave to this F. And so we have our first open position chord in which the F is found in a different octave than the other 3 notes of the chord. Why bother to do this? Well, because the sound of an open position chord is generally bigger sounding. I think it probably generates more overtones, and this note being positioned where it is does generate more overtones above, and you get a bigger sound. The G7, the F would be, once again, the second voice, and so we're taking that F and we're dropping it 1 octave, which would again put it down here, 1 octave lower to this F, which I've located in the bass clef. And then the C major 7, the second voice was the note E, and that E has been dropped 1 octave to this E and so forth. So that we have what we call drop 2 voicings for the G7, C major 7. The sound quality is bigger than these voicings. These would be a smaller sound. These open position voicings will be a larger sound. Okay, so let's look at the drop 2 voicing in a variety of keys.